The Fabulous Hudson Hornet was and always will be a legend. It all started back in 1951 when he had his first taste of racing at Watkins Glen, which was also the year he was built. However, it was when he joined the dirt racing scene in the early days of the Piston Cup that his rise to fame truly began. In 1951, Doc moved from Motor City, Detroit to Thomasville, which was the hotspot for dirt racing. It was there that he met his closest friends, River Scott, Luis Nash, and Junior Moon. Together, they shared a common passion for speed and competition. However, his friends' racing skills weren't confined to the tracks alone. They put their talents to use by running moonshine through treacherous forest trails, honing their racing abilities and facing danger head-on. Thomasville was also where Doc met his mentor and coach, Smokey, the owner of Smokey's Automotive Service, who was well known for his crafty tactics on the track. It was with Smokey's help that Doc became the skillful racer he's known for, and that Thomasville became the go-to place for racers to get their tires dirty. Throughout Doc's career, Thomasville Speedway became known as the world's busiest track. It even had a pin to officiate the title. Some saw Doc as overly confident when he referred to himself not just as the Hudson Hornet, but as the
Fabulous Hudson Hornet.
His friends teased him at first, but their skepticism soon turned to awe as he showcased remarkable talent and unmatched speed. Doc began his debut year with a strong start, taking on and conquering racers from both Carolinas. With a streak of 13 wins, including notable triumphs at the Hollywood Speedway, he finished the season with the coveted Piston Cup at Daytona. This extraordinary feat made him the first rookie in many years to achieve such a milestone. The racing world was stunned. Doc's fame was rapidly growing, attracting a growing fan base of both young and old enthusiasts. Wherever he went, all eyes were on him, much to the annoyance of the more established racers. However, even the seasoned veterans couldn't help but admire Doc's seemingly unbeatable skill on the track, as the rookie displayed the road skills of a seasoned and mature racer. Some doubted Doc's ability to stay in the lead for long, and journalist Torque Wrench from the Daily Exhaust wrote an article on the 31st of August, 1951, questioning whether Hudson would be able to sustain his success since many young prodigies had burned out quickly in the past. Torque wondered whether Doc was merely a flash of brilliance without the true grit and determination needed to become a champion. Despite the doubts and speculations, the racing scene had become infected with what the Daily Exhaust journalist Buster Bumper called Hud Fever. Entire towns would come to a standstill as cars eagerly awaited the results of the Hudson Hornets races, and their cheers for his victories would drown out even the roaring engines on the track. Doc's iconic blue finish became a trend among the younger generation, with many flocking to paint shops to replicate his style. Sometimes with less than perfect results. Even older fans caught on to the trend, as one elderly car was spotted proudly displaying a 51 on his door panel. Despite his relentless pursuit of victory, Doc was far from a one-dimensional car. He was, as journalist Buster Bumper said, no shrinking violet around the ladies. Whenever Doc was around, it was common to see several cars parked nearby, and sometimes even traffic jams would occur in the winner's circle due to his charm and appeal. Even Luis Nash was rumored to have eyes for Doc, though she knew the feeling would never be reciprocated, as
I didn't like fast women, and that left me out.
Amidst his growing fame, Doc remained humble and respectful of his fellow racers, never giving smoke or backfire. As quoted by journalist I. M. Rusty in an interview, Doc said, "But it's not all about winning, it's about the fans too. I figure I owe them something when I race. I owe them a good, clean run, and a fast run, with no funny business." As journalist Buster Bumper said, Doc had brought in a whole new era of racing. The following year of 1952 turned out to be the pinnacle of Doc's career, as he secured an impressive 27 victories, along with the championship title at Daytona, a record that still stands for the most wins in a single season. He also broke all previous speed records, further cementing his status as a racing legend. The media couldn't get enough of him, and he appeared on the front covers of popular sports magazines like Stock Car Racing and Fancy Racer. According to articles featured in the August 10, 1952 publication of the Daily Exhaust, fans were astonished by the speed at which Doc raced, with some exclaiming that it sounded like he broke the sound barrier. One nearsighted fan even described Doc as a blur due to his astonishing speed. "This is a great day for racing," said one of his sponsors after his win. Many more sponsors were lined up in hopes to slap their stickers on that smooth blue chassis. Long gone were the days when racing was just for the sport. It meant big money, and Hudson was about to cash in. Despite the pressure and expectations from fans and sponsors to keep winning, Doc remained remarkably calm and level-headed. In an interview, his pit crew marveled at his composure, saying, "It takes an awful lot to get him hot under the hood. We keep waiting for something to rattle him. It just doesn't happen." When asked about his relaxed attitude, Doc replied, "I don't worry, it's just not in my constitution. I take things as they come and do my best. Seems like that's been working pretty good for me lately." It was working pretty good indeed, and Doc's dominance on the track was evident. He outpaced last year's favorites and left his competitors disheartened. "I could have phoned it in today," grumbled one defeated competitor. "I saw nothing but exhaust the whole day." Doc's rise from rookie to legend was a phenomenon that seemed unlikely to be replicated anytime soon. When rookie Leroy Hemming tried to smash Doc into a wall during his debut race at the Thomasville 400, Doc quickly showed the racing world who the real winner was and performed his iconic flip over the rookie to secure the lead and the win. Doc continued to make and break records, and the speeds he achieved were 5 times higher than those just a few years ago. The racing world was starting to change, and the rise of larger pit crews and more specialized mechanics reflected the increased seriousness and professionalism among the new generation of racers. As the racing world became more intense and professional, journalists started delving into the qualities necessary for cars to have a shot at the Cup. An article by I Am Rusty gave insights into what makes a future champion, quoting statistics that stated out of every 6 cars seen, only 2 would make it to the track, which showed that it wasn't just talent or a large crew that made a hopeful racer a champion. Additional statistics stated that only 1 out of every 100,000 cars manufactured are fast enough to race. Doc had the build and engine to make the cut, but it was his skills that set him apart. In 1953, Doc had another outstanding season, winning a total of 22 races and securing his 3rd Piston Cup, which he won by an entire lap over the second-place finisher. He also broke his speed record from the previous year at Daytona. Doc's 3 consecutive wins of the Piston Cup were a remarkable achievement that had never been seen before. Not only did he set a new record, but he also became the first and only racer to ever win 3 Piston Cups. According to the August 10, 1953 article of the Daily Exhaust, journalist I Am Rusty interviewed a few racing veterans trackside to get their thoughts on the win, the new speed record, and the current crop of speedsters. Opinions were divided, and heated exchanges between the old-timers were numerous.
"I got up to 30 miles an hour once, but of course that was going downhill. Thought I was gonna shake myself to pieces. Nobody can survive for long at these speeds. It just ain't natural." "Nonsense. Go as fast as you can. That's my motto. Wind in your face and bugs in your grill, smoke and burning rubber, and to heck with everything else. If you got tires left at the end of the race, you're not trying."
Rusty concluded that the lively exchange of views proved that Doc Hudson was an inspiration as he brought excitement and fans back to the track. As for Doc's thoughts of his win, journalist Buster Bumper interviewed him after his victory. When asked about his thoughts and plans for the future, Doc replied,
"Maybe a little R&R, and then back to work. I'm not one to rest on my springs. All I ever wanted to do was to race, and that's all I ever want to keep doing. I'd never be happy sitting on the sidelines, watching the traffic go by."
Doc felt on top of the world. He had become known as the champion of all time, with his signature drifting leaving his competition literally in his dust. As he told the Daily Exhaust, once his wheels got turning, the beat was on. He was obsessed with winning, and soon the Piston Cup was all he could think about. 1954 started out strong, with 16 wins under his fan belt. However, tragedy struck on June 21, 1954, during the Fireball Beach 500. As Doc raced toward the finish line, his hopes of victory were shattered when he lost control on the sand and suffered a devastating crash, leaving him severely injured. Doc came to, surrounded by ambulances and reporters, flashbulbs going off in his face.
"Kid, talk to me,"
Smokey said. "Did I win?" Doc asked jokingly. Everyone laughed uneasily. "Why the long faces?" Doc asked. "I'll be good as new in no time." However, the legend was wrong. The racing world was in shock. The news spread like wildfire through newspapers, leaving fans anxious that they might not see their beloved hero on the track again for quite some time. Doc clung to the hope that this race wouldn't be his last, and refused to believe what he was hearing when the doctors told him he would never be able to race again. He could not accept this. Racing was all he knew. At that moment, Doc decided that if the doctors couldn't fix him, he would do it himself. He had always been a fast learner, as Smokey could attest to, but even so, it took almost a year for him to be in a condition to get back on the track, just in time for the next racing season. With months of sleepless nights of studying and repairing behind him, Doc was ready. Full of hope, Doc drove to the racetrack, envisioning the welcoming crowd of reporters and fans cheering his name, something which had been ringing in the back of his mind during those late nights of studying and repairing. However, he was given the cold fender. "Sorry, kid," said his sponsor, "but you're history." They'd already hired a new racer, a hotshot rookie. Doc knew deep in his carburetor that he had more racing left in him, but his chance to show everyone had been taken away. The racing world had moved on, now leaving him in the dust. There was nothing he could do. His racing days were over. Some theories suggest that Smokey, Doc's former crew chief, fired him, which may explain why Doc didn't speak to his mentor for 50 years. Uncertain about his next move, Doc made the decision to return to his hometown of Motor City, Detroit. It was a big city where he could hopefully blend in and put his racing days behind him. Unfortunately, Doc soon realized that he couldn't escape his past. Everywhere he went, cars recognized him, asking for autographs and pictures. One hot rod even challenged him to a race, which he declined. Desperate to leave his racing days behind, he removed his decals, got a fresh coat of paint, and even took off his racing tires. Despite this, he was still recognized at a drive-in theater, and that was the final blow to the engine. He longed for a place where he could start anew, where his racing fame was unknown. Doc decided to take a ride on Route 66. There was so much to see. Mountains, cacti, even better, every time he stopped to fill up his gas tank or check into a motel for the night, nobody recognized him. A few miles outside of an unfamiliar small town, Hudson noticed a stranded car parked on the roadside. Doc offered to help. The car introduced himself as Philip and explained to Doc that his engine was having trouble starting. Doc listened carefully, and luckily he knew a quick fix. In just a few minutes, Doc had Philip's engine running smoothly again. Philip thanked Doc for his help and went on his way. Doc smiled as he kept driving, feeling good about being able to help the car. However, despite this newfound sense of fulfillment, he still wasn't sure of what to do or where to go. As if on cue, he found himself in front of a sign saying, "Does your life need direction?" Doc certainly did, and followed the arrow on the sign, curious. It led to a sign advertising course to become a doctor of internal combustion. Doc thought back to the car he had helped during his travels, and suddenly it struck him. This was his purpose, to help cars in need. He quickly headed to the mechanical school of Carburetor County and got in line to register. While waiting in line, a car tapped him on the fender and asked if they had met before. Doc's engine sank, anticipating the disappointment of being recognized as a former racing legend. However, to his surprise, the car exclaimed, "I've got it! You live next door to my great aunt, Mary Jean, in Bent Fender, Arkansas." Doc's bumper curved into a wide smile of relief. Finally, he realized that his past life was now behind him, and a promising new chapter was about to unfold. Doc studied hard for 4 years and finally graduated in 1960. On the 19th of June of that year, he claimed his degree in clinical aerodynamics under the Institute of Ignition Studies at the Ornament Valley Polytechnic. He also received a degree in clinical studies of hydraulics under the Internal Hydraulics Clinic and the School of Tolerances and Clearances. On the 26th, he was given his degree declaring him a doctor of internal combustion under the School of Mechanics at the Ornament Valley Polytechnic. He moved to a nearby town, Radiator Springs, and set up shop there. He was the hardest working doctor of internal combustion around, and his clinic soon grew in popularity. Folks came from far and wide to be treated by Dr. Hudson Hornet. The Fabulous Hudson Hornet's racing days may have been over, but Doc felt like a champion just the same. He felt like he had finally left his racing days behind him. However, fate had other plans. In 2006, Lightning McQueen stumbled upon Radiator Springs and accidentally destroyed their road. As the town judge, Doc confronted his past when he took on Lightning's case. Though he initially wanted nothing to do with the hotshot, Doc saw Lightning's potential and offered valuable racing advice, only to be rudely dismissed.
Crazy grandpa car.
However, their encounter reignited Doc's passion for racing, and he took one last spin around Willie's Butte. However, when Lightning discovered Doc's true identity, his secret was in jeopardy. Doc forced Lightning to leave, fearing exposure. But seeing the townfolk's heartbreak, he regretted his decision. At the Dynaco 400, Doc appeared as McQueen's crew chief in his iconic Hudson Hornet paint job, finally gaining the recognition he deserved.
Whoa, look, man, it's the Hudson Hornet.
He felt like a winner, knowing his legacy lived on. Witnessing McQueen replicate his drift trick, Doc knew he had taught him well. And when McQueen selflessly helped a battered Strip Weathers, sacrificing the Piston Cup, Doc couldn't have been prouder. In the years that followed, the Fabulous Hudson Hornet became McQueen's mentor. Training together on the dusty track around Willie's Butte, Doc couldn't have been happier teaching McQueen, and even reached out to his old coach Smokey for the first time in 50 years to share McQueen's success. He sent numerous letters praising McQueen and included newspaper clippings of his many wins. He confided in Smokey that racing wasn't the best part of his life. Coaching Lightning was. The Glen Rio Motel in Radiator Springs was even converted into a racing museum, with an entire wing dedicated to the Hudson Hornets' racing career. Reporters frequently visited Doc and McQueen to witness their training sessions beneath Willie's Butte. Some reporters eagerly anticipated these visits well in advance. Vic Vainley, one of the reporters, commented on the combination of Doc's old-school techniques and McQueen's new-school style. McQueen himself credited Doc for his achievements, saying he owed it all to him. Gina Gastanki, another reporter, noticed the warm and welcoming nature of the duo during her visit to their training sessions. She also observed that behind their casual demeanor, both Doc and McQueen had endured sacrifices and battles to reach their current status. Reporter Cam Fourstroke expressed admiration for the dirt track used by the duo during training. They reminisced about the earlier days of racing, referring to them as the grander days, when cars were cars and tracks were made of dirt. They also recalled how winning the Piston Cup not only meant being the best of the best, but also proved that you had the stuff to claim the title. Doc and McQueen certainly had the stuff, and together they won 4 Piston Cups. In 2009, Doc sadly passed away. The year of his passing is confirmed in this piece of concept art that features the dates on the tombstone. The circumstances of his death have unfortunately never been revealed. Cars director Jay Ward said in an interview with Screen Crush that he didn't think they paid Doc's death enough attention in Cars 2 and 3. In an early draft of Cars 3, there was a flashback of Doc's death. Ward described it as a really tender moment where McQueen's driving and Doc's following him, and it's like the day your mentor passes away. Eventually, the filmmakers decided the scene was just depressing and cut it from the finished film. Some fan theories suggest Doc died from engine failure. However, when Rod Redline was being interrogated by the Lemons in Cars 2, he said that
I can replace an engine block.
which means an engine failure most likely doesn't mean death in the Cars world. Based on official concept art that depicts McQueen with separate organs from his engine, my theory suggests that Doc's passing was the result of a medical condition rather than a mechanical issue. Specifically, I believe he passed due to lung cancer, similar to the way Paul Newman, his voice actor and inspiration for the character, unfortunately did. In 2011, the Piston Cup was renamed in Doc's honor. His clinic was converted into a museum and displayed trophies and keepsakes from his career. In Ramon's body shop, there was an ofrenda built to celebrate the legend, including magazines, jars of dirt from the racetracks he competed on, and a medal from the Knights of Combustion. One of the mementos seen at the altar is a Rust-eze logo, on which McQueen wrote this touching line in honor of Doc's memory: "Turn right to go left. You're not crazy. Thanks for everything," which is a full circle moment from the time he rudely brushed the legend off all those years ago. In 2017, a new generation of racers appeared in the racing world, and McQueen experienced a similar fear of being left on the sidelines as Doc had. He also was involved in a wreck that threatened to end his career like his mentor had before him. However, with the wisdom he had gathered during his years spent with the legend, McQueen found purpose on a new path, just as Doc had, in becoming a mentor. In his case, to trainer-turned-racer Cruz Ramirez. Cruz proved her ability to carry on the legacy of the legendary racers before her when she performed the same flip that Doc had mastered all those years ago. McQueen and Cruz both honored the champion's memory by changing their paint jobs. McQueen sported Doc's iconic blue coat. Cruz chose the number 51 as her racing number under her new sponsor, Dynaco. The duo now train under the shadow of Willie's Butte, just as Doc had with Lightning during the best days of his life. Doc Hudson Hornet will never be forgotten, and his legacy lives on in all the cars who witnessed him race and those who saw beyond his tough exterior to the heart he possessed. He had a lot of stuff. Doc has a step-down chassis, which gives him excellent handling on the track, as well as a twin H-Power straight-six engine. While online specifications for 1951 Hudson Hornets commonly list their horsepower as 145, an article from the Daily Exhaust published in 1951 states that Doc's horsepower is actually 175. Before receiving the title of doctor later in life, he was known by his full name, Hudson Hornet, and most of his friends simply called him Hud.
Who's Hud?
He was later referred to most commonly as Doc, since his new friends knew him as the town doctor.
Oh, Doc Hudson. Right.
Doc's full official title is Doc Hudson Hornet, according to the name on his small business license. Throughout his career, Doc raced at Thunder Hollow Speedway, the Thomasville Speedway, the Florida International Speedway, Fireball Beach, Daytona, and Watkins Glen. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to dive deeper into the world of cars, make sure to subscribe, as there's plenty more videos on this channel exploring the car's lore, along with exciting content coming your way soon.
You got a lot of stuff, kid.